My mind was blown, y'all. Getting to go see like Act 1 and then have activities to go do and have to find secret. Hi, y'all. I'm Ariel Jade. I'm a singer, songwriter, cosplayer, Twitch partner, film producer. I do all of the things as long as it interests me. And I got the opportunity to go check out Mirth and Mischief at the Uhuburg Castle last year, and it was amazing. The theater, the acrobatics, the costumes, the actual vocal performances were insane too. All of it was just a great experience. And I had actually never been, even with all of the like cosplay and conventions and all this stuff I've done where there's, you know, some level of like role play acting within a life. I had never been to such a well done interactive theater event experience. Not what I expected, but it was better than I expected. Not in that it wasn't, you know, like it didn't live up to expectations. My mind was blown, y'all. Getting to go see like Act 1 and then have activities to go do and have to find secrets. I am a nerd. My favorite game series is like the Dark Souls, any fantasy type series too. And my number one thing I do when I stream these types of games is just go secret hunting. Like I want to find all the Easter eggs. I want to know all the little hidden secrets. I'm a secret hunter. So going and getting to watch Act 1 of Mirth and Mischief and then going and finding the fairies to help find out this and fill out a riddle and all of these like activities in between the acts. It was really, really, really cool. Super cool. I definitely say if you have the opportunity to go to any upcoming Mirth and Mischief event to do so. Go out of your way and do it. It is worth it. Oh, I have a lot of lore. I've lived many lives. I have a master's in education that I no longer use. I'm a retired teacher. I'm a retired professional esports competitor. I did that for a little while. I still am a Twitch partner, but I did that full-time variety streaming, working with game companies, working with sponsors, and streaming 8 to 12 hours a day, like 6 days a week for 5 years. I am focusing on music and film now, mainly. I started playing guitar when I was 8, after I had to beg for it for a couple of years, mind you. Okay, I knew at a very young age I was musical and wanted to play music. And I'm ADHD, all over the place, very noisy. And here's 4 or 5-year-old me begging for a guitar. My parents were like, no. Finally, on my 6th birthday, they told me, they were like, all right, we'll make a deal with you. If you say nothing else about it, not a word, on your 8th birthday, we'll get you one. Your hands will be big enough by then, you know. I'm like, okay, fine. Hid the key, put it away, didn't say a word for 2 years, which as a very hyperactive creative at a young age that needed constant stimulation, and I was just obsessed with music, took every fiber of my being every day to not bring up that guitar or the fact that I was counting the days. I just had to be quiet about it. So anyway, I wake up on my 8th birthday, and I did have great parents. I do have great parents, don't get me wrong. I walked out and they had 2 gifts there for me for my birthday. They were not big enough to be a guitar. And I looked at them, I did not touch those presents, and I said, that's not big enough to be a guitar. And they could not believe that I remembered this and had actually said nothing for 2 years. So they're like, okay, all right, you know, we'll take you and go get it. And I was like, no, today, my birthday. You told me, we had a deal. We shook hands. I held up my end of the bargain. Y'all are going to do it. So I made them take me to Walmart and buy me a really cheap $69 China-made guitar that, like, you know, it had strings and I did teach myself some chords on it with a chord book before I could get into private lessons. So it worked, but only barely, right? So I walk into my first day of lessons, about 8.5 years old. And I'm like, I got G, C, and D already, you know, like I'm excited. And Mr. Tim was his name. He strummed it. He's like, all right, well, show me a G chord. And I showed him and he strummed his. And then I strummed mine and I said, strum yours again. And he strummed his and I strummed mine. And I look at my dad and I'm like, I need a better guitar. But you're not tricking me with this, you know? So I knew immediately. My dad was like, well, you're gonna have to work for it. And I was like, okay, fine. Sounds like another deal. And my dad owned a bolt and nut screw warehouse, sell to the railroad, stuff like that, right? And at 8 and 9 years old, I was in the warehouse during the summers, counting out 100 bolts, 100 nuts, 100 screws, building a box, printing a label out, putting that all together, physically putting it in inventory, and then go marking it in, paper inventory, a nickel a box. And I saved up over $400 in nickels. And they were like, my parents said they'll match me with what I saved. So they ended up getting me about a $900,000 guitar. It was a nice little Larrabee, which is now signed by Doc Watson, but that's a whole nother story. I grew up in bluegrass music, Celtic. I picked up the mandolin age 12. Classic country, traditional country. I toured with this guy named William Michael Morgan when we were like 13 and 14 doing like Johnny and June style duets. Went all up and down the East Coast, all the way up to Canada, actually. We were touring internationally, which I do the air quotes, but I mean, we were being shipped all around, and it was our parents independently coordinating with people within the industry trying to, kind of get us the experience that we needed to move forward into this and a way of career later on in life. But so I did learn a lot from all of this. But anyway, so from bluegrass to Celtic to traditional country, and my dad raised me on just good stuff all the way across the board. Billy Gibbons, ZZ Top guitarist, is a huge inspiration for me now at this point in my life. I listen to a lot of the Beatles. I listen to a lot of the Stones. I listen to the Beach Boys, the Cars, the Eagles, which the Eagles had a lot of Americana stuff, which is kind of what I do now is Americana. So I kind of bring all of my grassroots roots in, but then I hate being put in a genre box. So I am an Americana country music songwriter artist based here in Nashville, recording artist in Nashville. I own a studio at RCA Victor Studios, which is the historic RCA building on Music Row that Elvis recorded at. Tons of people. Dolly Parton signed her deal with RCA in the room next to my studio. So I'm getting to work in an amazing place with amazing people, and I'm getting to kind of bring in all of the traditional country and the grassroots and the Celtic and rock and roll and kind of dump it into this melting pot that is my sound. I recently released a single that I wrote when I was 14, and I finally got to record it with some of the toppest of notch musicians here in Nashville, like absolutely insane. And the guy that played on it and co-produced it with me, and he's bluegrass, which is crazy for me now because I remember when I was young hearing Randy Coors on stuff with like Alison Krauss and all these people, and I'm just like, oh. And now I got to produce one of my songs with him, which was really, really cool. I would actually say we're pretty good friends at this point. I love Randy. But anyway, he's like Grammy award-winning producer, and I finally, over half my life later, got to record and release the song. It's called Pebbles. If y'all want to go look it up, check it out. I also have a music video out on it. But yeah, there for a little while, I went to college early at 16, got engaged at 17, married at 19, graduated with my undergrad at 20, moved to Nashville to try music. The guy that I was with was not actually supportive and tended to be very emotionally abusive. So I kind of just stepped back from the spotlight and quit music for like a decade. Ended up teaching for 4 years, inner city, Jackson, Mississippi. Then through all of kind of my issues within my marriage, I started playing video games because if you can't beat them, join them, right? And I ended up accidentally getting affiliated on Twitch. Yeah, it's odd. I have very odd lore when it comes to how I got into Twitch. But anyway, within a year, I realized I was like, oh, I could be making money on the side when I'm playing video games on the weekend. Like while I'm escaping, I could be making some money and at least paying for my games and my internet, And I did. And then I got picked up in the esports league, and I competed professionally in Fortnite. And then I hosted Apex tournaments. And then I competed in a lot of professional Call of Duty tournaments as well. And then by this point, I achieved Twitch partnership. I ended up stepping away from that esports team. And because I had built the amazing community I had built on Twitch by that point in time, I was like, well, I retired from teaching to do this, so I guess we're going to do it. And I kept going and learned how to navigate securing online sponsors, working with game companies to get early previews, getting paid to preview their games. And I did that for 4 years full time. I co-write about twice a week with people. And it's like a lot of the times, we'll come in with a hook or a topic, but if I go in and we're just gonna like jump in, no, idea that we've agreed to work on or have already been kind of talking about, it's like inevitably we end up just kind of talking about life and divorce and abuse and any of these things. And it's like so many people relate. It's insane and it's really sad. But at the same time, I know that when this happens and it fuels a creation between me and someone else, that I know I'm not the only one benefiting from getting it out. You know, us putting it out there helps other people know they're not alone, or maybe even help them just kind of start healing through it, because it's like, well, they're able to talk about their story and put it out there and make it beautiful and make it art and, you know, use it for connection, and maybe that inspires someone else. So it all has happened the way it was meant to happen, when and where you're supposed to be. About 2021, I started really getting back into songwriting and music. And then summer of 23, I sent this guy named Wood Newton a very terrible demo recording, honestly, of a song that we had co-written together when I was 14. It was the first song I ever co-wrote. And he was like, well, come on up to Nashville and let's do it properly, you know? And so summer of 23, I started kind of coming back and forth, splitting time. We ended up writing and recording my entire debut album, which I released in December of 24 on my birthday. And it just hit a year old. And I have 18 songs that I have independently recorded and released now out of my music label called Jade Productions. So yeah, doing all the music now. I'm all in with that. And then I have my studio in RCA. Victor is also a film studio as well as my songwriting studio. I run a Music Row News podcast, musicrownews.com, studioxtv.com. We do short films, music videos, all of my music videos. I have written, directed, and produced. I think I did 6 in 2025. So yeah, I'm a busy girl with music and film. I just love like capturing that the community that these events are surrounded around, or the creativity of I just love art and being able to share it, really, I think is what it comes down to. And then my knowledge of learning green screen and teaching myself all of the Adobe products, teaching myself Ableton DAW, teaching myself all of this stuff over 5 years. It's like, well, now I have all this tech knowledge. What can I do with it that, you know, like, lets me share more of what I want to share, which is music and the stories behind the songs. And I wrote a short horror film. It's a 10-minute silent black and white film, and it's called Horror More. Yes, that is an Edgar Allan Poe reference. But it's more about the horrors of our society than gore. It was the first short film I did, and we actually did it in we did one of the 2-day turnaround challenges. It's like a 48-hour short film with 6 cast members, 1 editor, and 1 cameraman. And it was for a festival here in Nashville. But anyway, so yeah, that was a lot of fun, and we're actually kind of working on some more of that. But we're also doing documentaries with some of these songwriters and artists. We're actually about to start one of our next documentaries coming up is on a guy, he's now passed, with his niece, a guy named Felton Jarvis, who recorded the majority of Elvis's stuff when he was at RCA. Yes. And there's pictures of Felton Jarvis hanging out like out in the hall near my studio. And it's like just being in this building with all this history, the walls could talk. We're going to be doing a documentary on RCA Victor as well. So, but we've got just access to all these really cool people and cool stories. And it's like, you get this stereotypical, for me with Music Row News, it's like I just wanted it to feel like sitting down and having a coffee chat with a guy about the music or the production or the songwriting or on tour, you know, and it not be the same questions that Rolling Stone asked, the same questions that, you know what I mean? They can go look it up. It's like, so I approach it in the way of like, I do know a little bit about them, but I don't really script more than I loose storyboard script my questions for them. I let them know specifics. But then the second half is basically, I just rabbit trail on whatever stories they decide to share. And we dive in. And I mean, I love that. So it's kind of like getting to know them live on camera, and the audience just happens to get to see that too. I'm like a nerd about music production, the history of some of these songs, that I love sitting down and debating the meaning of a song with someone. Like I was a creative writing major for my undergrad. And I've always just literature, art. That's just my brain. I enjoy it way too. I nerd out and film it. That's basically and I love finding my people by doing that. Like, we have similar interests, you know, it's like we can be friends. So cosplay for me kind of came about through Twitch, weirdly enough. I've always loved doing like voices when I've read books, and I'm obsessed with Harley Quinn. So I on stream would be like, "Oh, hi, you puddins, how you doing?" You know, and do the voice, and people loved it. And they were like, "We need you to do Harley Quinn for Halloween." I think this is back in like 2019, 18, 19. 19. I had never cosplayed before. I had done community theater growing up. So I was even in a college play, you know, like I had acted and done costume and stuff before, but not really like cosplay, because it's like you embody that character just out in the world, you know, randomly, wherever you may be. I have gone to Walmart and done a mean Harley Quinn. It's fun. It's fun. It's like life's taken so seriously. So I found cosplay inadvertently and accidentally by my Twitch audience being like, "Do Harley Quinn for Halloween." And I did it, and I did the voice, and they loved it. And then I was like, I like this, you know? And so then they just kept requesting like video game characters as I'd play them, like Horizon. Oh gosh, why can't I right now? Anyway, main characters from games I was playing, and I'd build out cosplays. I even learned how to sew for it. It's not my favorite thing to do. I tend to kick off designs to some of my craftier cosplay companions, and then I help them with design or something. You know, we all just kind of, again, it's just like a group of nerdy, artsy community people getting to like just nerd out together and make things. And so I like fell in love with cosplay, started doing conventions and stuff, which is why I saw the Mirth and Mischief and the fantasy, and I love fantasy. I'm a fantasy nerd. So I was like, I'm going to make a character, and I did. I built Jaded Fae, I think is what I named her, and had like the gold ears and all of that, and brought my mandolin, and I just walked around in cosplay like a little, I don't know, fairy, music fairy, and just played Celtic music, and people loved it. I got to interact. Who was the troll man that y'all had? Yes, he was so cute. And getting to like interact in character and play in character to his character was super cool. I love this. It's fantasy. It's like when you were younger and you'd play make believe, but like at this point we're adults and have adult budgets and can make cool things and bring this fantasy into life on at least a, you know, you can experience it level, and the way of, you don't just have to imagine it all, because when we do get older, the imagination, and we believe what our eyes see a lot more than when we're a child, you know. So getting to like go to a castle and have class actors, actresses, acrobatics, vocalists. Oh my gosh, it was amazing. I lost myself for a few hours. I felt like a child again. It was lovely.